safe to say that the Super Mario Bros. Movie was one of the most successful movies in our generation, not only for just being a huge, great video game adaptation, but also for being one of the greatest animated movies of all time so far. People are loving the Mario Bros. Movie, and it's safe to say that Nintendo's got themselves something good with Illumination, and they probably will continue to pump out great Nintendo projects, and we even hear rumors and leaks popping up all the time of even more projects in the works right now. But we got even more information from inside source Zippo, which once again, take with a grain of salt, because there of course is times where they are right, and of course there are times where they are wrong, but they've heard even more information on upcoming movies, and one of those being a Luigi's Mansion movie. But real quick guys, we are at 235,000 subscribers, just 15,000 away from our milestone of 250,000, a quarter of a million here on Nintendo Land. Thank you guys so much for your recent support. So let's try to bump into this goal, because there are some really exciting things that I want to share with you once we reach this milestone. Thank you so much for those of you that are already subscribed, but stop what you're doing. If you enjoyed this information, leave a like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. But let's jump into the information. Now, of course, this comes from Zippo once again, and like I said, they have a reputation of being right sometimes and definitely a reputation of being wrong sometimes. So take whatever you hear with a grain of salt, but still, it's backed up by a lot of other insiders as well that have heard things. But Zippo states that he's heard sources that a Donkey Kong movie and a Mario Bros. 2 movie is in the works. Now, we've heard about Mario Bros. 2 and Donkey Kong for a while now. We've heard Seth Rogen and even Chris Pratt state that, and you know, they're probably gonna happen. We even have the theme park opening up with a Donkey Kong expansion, and we have the fact that we still haven't had a Donkey Kong game really since, you know, a Tropical Freeze, so they're probably gearing up to release a game and the movie alongside each other. It just kind of makes sense. Donkey Kong has such a big role in the Mario movie and an entire kingdom full of Kongs, so we can just kind of expect that to happen. But they also mentioned that Zelda and Luigi's Mansion projects are in the works as well. And Zippo actually goes on to talk about what the Zelda movie is going to be like, and I'm going to save that for a future video, because today I just want to focus on the fact that yes, Luigi's Mansion project is in the works. Now, it doesn't necessarily state directly that it's going to be a Luigi's Mansion, it just states a Luigi-focused spin-off, but let's be honest, what else would a Luigi's focused spin-off be? It has to be Luigi's Mansion, and it just kind of makes sense. Now, this is really nothing new, however. We've heard interviews from Charlie Day stating that he would love to play the role of Luigi again for a Luigi's Mansion spinoff, and talks about how his son actually loves the games and it would just like make sense, and that it just sounds like a great idea. And not only from Charlie Day, but you can just watch the Mario movie and it throws out references for Luigi's Mansion everywhere. There's a whole scene focused with Luigi being chased by creepy Bowser enemies, and as the dry bones are chasing him into the castle, you can even hear a little bit of Luigi's Mansion theme song playing, and you just get this whole creepy vibe, and the Shy Guys and Sniffets appear in the background after the lightning strikes. It just really gives off that Luigi's Mansion vibe, and you can tell that the directors definitely wanted to do that. So honestly, I think it's safe to say that a Luigi's Mansion spin-off movie would do extremely well, and I think a lot of people would really be interested in seeing what they could do with it. But what would they do with it? That's the question. What direction would they take? What story would they tell? Well, I'm here to talk about that a little bit more. Well, first off, it looks like Nintendo is taking new directions with the stories, as the Mario movie was kind of a combination of multiple different Mario stories, items, and, you know, different characters and enemies from different games. It wasn't just directly based on one thing. Even though it was an origin story, it was also taking inspiration from multiple different games and putting them all together. And it looks like they're doing the same thing with potentially the upcoming Zelda movie, as you know, the leaks are saying that it's going to be a kind of combination of all things Zelda for its own unique new story. So maybe that's something that they're also doing with the Donkey Kong movie and with Luigi's Mansion, maybe making an entirely new story. But I'm here to say they actually don't need to do that this time around. Now remember, there are tons of Mario games, and there are also tons of Zelda games with tons of different stories, so they can obviously do that with those two series. But Luigi's Mansion only has 3 games. Seriously, only 3 games, so it'd be kind of hard to make an original story that kind of brings all of those different games together, because there's just not enough content there. It would make more sense if they just focused on one story and more of the origin story of how Luigi's Mansion even begins. I think they need to directly take from the first game and kind of recreate that story. Maybe they can make it in a new way, but keep a lot of those boss characters and Portrait Ghost and, you know, Egad, Luigi, Mario being kidnapped, The whole story of them winning a mansion would work really, really well, especially since they just settled down in the Mushroom Kingdom from the Mario Brothers movie, and then Mario getting a message saying that he won a mansion, obviously he's gonna go take it. He would fall for something like that, and it just kind of makes sense where Luigi has to take up the mantle of being the hero and get past his fears. We could even see him being kind of a scaredy cat within the Mario Brothers movie as well until the very end, so this would be a great kind of character progression for him as well for this movie. Now, the reason why this would work so well is because the characters alone would be really cool. They could flesh out every single portrait ghost, since they're all members and family of this giant mansion. They could flesh out every character now, give them dialogue, give them, you know, actual expressions and stuff that would really liven up the original Luigi's Mansion. And I think they could have some creepy and even funny moments with these portrait ghosts. Now, the question is, are they going to keep the same creepy essence of the first game? Because it seems like the Luigi's Mansion team is moving away from that creepy aspect, where Luigi's Mansion 3 was a really good game, but it definitely didn't have the spooky elements of the first, and neither did the second game. So that's the question. Does Nintendo make this a creepy movie even when it's for kids? Well, I would actually beg to argue that the Mario Brothers movie had a very creepy scene with Luigi in it. It actually was a lot creepier than I thought they would ever go, with just having the dry bones stick their hands out of the dirt and their heads pop off, and it just had a very creepy vibe to it, and the Shy Guys and Sniffets appearing in the lightning strike in the background. I mean, I think they could do it, seriously. Going back to the portrait ghosts, I think it's just a great idea to have Luigi going through the mansion, taking out these portrait ghosts, and having each one have their own individual story that ties into the overarching story. And maybe there's more mystery, more things that he has to do to solve the mystery as to where Mario is compared to the original game, because let's face it, the story of the original game wasn't that deep. Mario just got kidnapped and Luigi had to go find him. That's as simple as it was. So they could definitely add more to this movie and probably even take some of the filler away and just make it a funny yet scary movie of Luigi going around trying to capture these different character ghosts that have personalities, and it would be pretty cool. Now, people would probably run into the same problem where some movie critics and even just people in general did not like the fact that the Mario Brothers movie had literally an entire lack of story. It was more just fan service and lots of crazy things happening on screen. But for a lot of people, that's all we want in a movie experience. Something that ties into the original games and is just a fun watch. It doesn't necessarily need to have the deepest story of all time, and I think that would be the one problem with this Luigi's Mansion movie is the story probably still wouldn't be that deep. There's only so much you can do about a story where Luigi has to go through a mansion, taking out ghosts, in order to get to Mario. They could find ways to expand the story and maybe add elements and plot devices that change how the story actually works, but that's obviously up to Illumination how they want to handle that. Still, I want it to, at its core, be a big movie full of Luigi just going around different character ghosts and interacting with them. I think that alone could serve as a funny, entertaining film. Now, don't get me wrong, I can definitely see Nintendo saying, I like the story of Luigi's Mansion 3 a lot better, I want to do that. But if Nintendo wants to make this a long-running movie franchise, like they want Luigi's Mansion to have more movies along with the games, I don't know how they would not start off with the first one, because they'd run out of games pretty quick unless they just started making their own stories after that, which they could definitely do. They could just completely make a new mansion, a new story, just for the sake of the movies. But I feel like, yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 would also probably be a good one, since Mario, Peach, Toad, you know, pretty much everybody is in this giant hotel. But to start the first Luigi's Mansion off with not even a mansion at all probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. It'd be Luigi's Hotel, if anything. But yeah, they definitely should just go with the first one. I think there's a lot of stuff there in that first game that they could rewrite and rework with in order to form it into a really funny, really scary movie. But I think they should definitely take elements of Luigi's Mansion 3 and incorporate them within the first story from Luigi's Mansion 1. For instance, the boss ghosts in Luigi's Mansion 3 have tons of personality, where the ones in the original game, not so much. So definitely take that personality from those ghosts and incorporate them within the portrait ghosts of the first game, and you got yourself a really good cast of characters already. But I think this also just makes sense for the games as well, because Luigi's Mansion is on its way to being one of Nintendo's biggest and best franchises. Luigi's Mansion 3, only the third game in the series, sold absolute bonker units for the Switch, and is among one of the top 15 best-selling Switch games, which is a lot to say. It is doing so well, and I'm sure Nintendo knows this and is already working on Luigi's Mansion 4 for either the next console or still the Switch. I mean, they're even putting Dark Moon on the Switch Clearly, if they want to spend any time putting Dark Moon on the Switch, that tells you that they know how big Luigi's Mansion is and they want it to continue to grow, and even in the movie space, which would be so good for the series as well as a whole. But I'm not gonna lie when I say Luigi's Mansion has one of the brightest futures out of all the Nintendo characters right now on the Switch, because Luigi's Mansion was starting off just as a single game on the GameCube and went years without ever seeing another title, and now going from the 3DS to the Switch, it is becoming a massive hit amongst Nintendo fans, and I can't wait to see what the next Luigi's Mansion is going to have in store, let alone the brand new Luigi's Mansion movie that we could potentially be getting in the future. Now, there's one last thing that I want to talk about as to why this is not going to be coming probably as soon as we hope, because there's one big problem in Hollywood right now. Yes, there is the giant writer strike that's going on because writers not being paid their proper dues for their hard work on movies, and this is affecting every single studio, it seems, out there, and every single upcoming movie, and it's even affecting Nintendo according to Zippo, which means that Mario Bros. 2 movie and Donkey Kong movie and even the Zelda movie probably will not be coming as soon as Nintendo planned. I believe they said they had plans for the Mario movie to be released holiday of 2025, but that might actually get affected now. Now, yes, this is a little sad that we might have to wait longer, but this writer's strike is definitely needed because writers need to be paid for their hard work and their effort into some of these movies that give us these experiences, and they definitely need to be treated fairly, so it's definitely due. They need to strike for this, and yeah, we just might have to wait a little bit longer, but it's definitely going to be worth it in the end. The fact that we're even able to discuss the possibilities of a Luigi's Mansion movie alone makes me so happy as a Nintendo fan, because I didn't even think we'd be talking about Luigi's Mansion video games this time, because how long it's been since we've gotten Luigi's Mansion. So I really thought the series was never going to see the light of day on modern consoles, and to see Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Switch gave me so much hope. As a huge Luigi's Mansion fan, this is super exciting. But let me know in the comments down below, how excited would you be for a Luigi's Mansion movie to be revealed? And what would you like the story to be about? Would you want it to focus on a specific game, or would you like it to come up with a brand new story? What characters would you like to see? Let me know all the details down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to learn about this apparent upcoming Zelda movie, as well as I'm going to go into full detail about that and what that story could entail. But thank you so much for tuning in, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.